guys, welcome back to Into the Light, a different life story, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today, I have got a professional overthinker with me, and these are my special friends because I have been one of them, okay? So I recognize myself so much in my guest. I have got Kristy Anne, a nurse, a professional overthinker, and a master, the mistress of burnout. And with that, that is already all you need to know about this woman, because she is now absolutely outspoken and tries to raise awareness of this such an important topic that is so common to all of us, for crying out loud. So, Kristy Anne, high time that I've got you on my show. I'm really, really pleased that you're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited.
Oh, I will have you on again and again. No, it is such a strange thing. Burnout is such a cliche, yet if I look into the hospital environment in which I work, I mean, for crying out loud, I left the public system because I had done all the heroic things. I had done all the 17 babies born at the same time at 3 o'clock in the morning. I had done all the trauma in the emergency department, and I was good in it. I loved it. I breathed it. I loved it. And then it was, yay. Crash.
Yep.
Okay, I'm back again. Yay. Crash. And that just describes more or less the last, 20 years? 20 years prior to my breakdown, I have to say, yes, I was a master of burnout, and seemingly so were you.
Yes, burnout, or as I like to call it, and as I spruik it now, compassion fatigue.
Nice one. Are we just window dressing here? Are we just compassion fatigue? Compassion fatigue is actually one symptom of a burnout, but it is actually the key symptom. And so what do you mean by compassion fatigue?
I think as health professionals, we get into the job because we love helping people. But the problem is that we overgive, that we stop giving to ourselves. Because we just love helping other people, we forget to love ourselves, and we forget to give ourselves compassion, and we end up losing ourselves in the process. So
having said that, there are two big groups of people out there. They are like us, and there are those people who have got XX chromosomes, and there are those people who have XY chromosomes. Essentially, we all are guilty of that. I am guilty as charged, both as a man, as a father, as all the roles in my life, and as a professional, as a doctor. Please, it is, we are givers, but you're quite right, because some professions define themselves by doing exactly that. We give. That is what doctors do, what nurses do. Emergency personnel out there, police, fire, we all out there, we run towards the sound of gunfire. We don't protect ourselves first. And that is exactly what puts us at a higher risk of this burnout phenomenon.
Yep, I 100% agree. You can have EAP programs, or employee assistance programs, I guess you could say, but I don't know, there's some sort of a breakdown in the system in regards to preventing burnout, I feel like.
Absolutely. Because we are there to make systems running smoothly, and we are there to help people. Now, the bigger the system, sometimes the more powerless you feel. And that's certainly one contributing factor. If you look at people who burn out and who are frustrated, and who consider themselves working in toxic environments, that is because they have no say in it. And that is the problem with big systems. So you are left with trying to pick up the pieces. And it is hard. it is hard. I remember so many conversations where I was de-escalating friction and very upset patients, which were not upset with me. They were upset and screaming because of their frustration with the system. And yet I got it in the neck, or my nurses got it in the neck, and I stepped in, and things like that. And it is very hard. It is, and I think not many people out there realize how hard it is for nursing staff specifically to deal with their daily frustrations. The figures out there, I mean, Australian figures to quote where you are, I mean, 95% of emergency nurses have been assaulted in the last month. Okay, so it's virtually, you go to work, and shall we put a stab-proof vest on or not? And we are making a little joke here, but all our orderlies in the emergency department wear stab-proof vests. I wonder what it is. Yeah, exactly. So
That's
there are times when really we need to look after ourselves first, but that typically only happens when something has occurred. So here you go. So my point, is nurses are doing such a beautiful, beautiful, important job, yet you are also on the receiving end of some not so nice criticism, some frustration, some anger, some resentment, which may very well have bugger all to do with you, yet you're copying it, isn't it? Has that occurred to you in your setting?
Yeah, I remember there was a shift that I did. I went on my old ward, and I'd just been physically assaulted. I was bitten, and drew blood, and I had to go and have all the blood tests and stuff like that. And I remember coming back to my boss, and I said, "Is this like this? Is it me, or is this just getting worse? The physical assaults, the verbal assaults, and And I'm like, and I've just been bitten because I was trying to feed a patient." And it wasn't his fault, but he's like, "Well, get used to it." And I was just thinking, are you freaking serious? Like, I didn't get into nursing to be, verbally and physically assaulted. And not only nurses are also, we are like the meat in the sandwich for all of the allied health. We're like the sounding board between the families and the patients and I don't think. And I understand that a lot of people get very, it is frustrating. The health systems can be frustrating, but and then it can be frustrating for us, and it's just like this vicious cycle, I feel like.
Now, if there are so many nurses that are suffering, could you not imagine that really the nursing councils in many parts of this world should be out there and should actually be addressing that, should be there as trendsetters of people who are fostering dialogue, fostering openness, fostering the being honest with yourself? Is that happening? Did you notice a change in your setting?
Not really. I mean, nursing historically is a very hard culture to change. They don't like change much at all. And like I remember even after, there's only so many dead bodies that you can put into body bags and stuff before it starts to really affect you. You start looking at them, at the body, at these people as, there was a person inside of there and now there's no one in there anymore. And I remember, you sort of don't really get the debrief sessions that you're meant to have, and you just like you just put on your, okay, I've got to keep going. But I remembered on reflection after the years, realising that you sort of just become so numb to that stuff, and like, how do you fix it? How do you know what I mean? Like it's. If only they had, debrief or meditation rooms or something within the hospitals, or somewhere that you could go to go and have a cry, or just to relax and go, wow, that was pretty insane. Because you make connections with, I dealt with a lot of palliative patients and stuff like that. You make connections with the family members, and you make connections with the person that's passing, and then they pass away, and then you've got to put them, and it's kind of like you have to put this mask on and go, okay, it can affect you.
It can, it does. And it's hard because there are times when you cannot let your true self shine through. You maybe want to cry, but you simply can't, because you need to be strong there, and you need to be the guide for the family. You need a guide for the person, for your team. I often, when I was involved with the emergency department, my calm exterior was sort of influencing others. And by calmly speaking out, running through an algorithm, running through a scenario, suddenly things calmed down. And there was a role for that. So you cannot always come out of your emotions. But the problem is that you're quite right. So when will there be time for a debrief? And many teams don't do that well or none at all. There is not necessarily a culture of actually sitting down, unless it is a bigger, and then it cannot become a culture of debrief, but it can be a culture of witch hunt. And if you ever go through a formal complaint process, in the sense, not even complaint process, if you go in a root cause analysis where you try to figure out what has occurred in a particular case, why did that particular outcome happen to this patient? And you go through timelines and see where people got involved. Oh my goodness. There you see true flagellation. Are you talking medieval? Now, the 9-whipped cat. And that is us. We are perfectionists. And that's what you want. I mean, come on. If you go to your patient and you say, the last 99%, I got it right with the antibiotic. Now, it could be a 50-50 if I give you the right antibiotic or not. But that doesn't go well. So, no. So it is, we are perfectionists. We strive for 110%. But at the same token, that unfortunately comes nowadays with the perception by us, ourselves, and by the customer, by the clients, i.e. our patients, that everything needs to be perfect. There is no more acceptance of any mistakes. And at a time when we should be more open to accepting the challenges and the fact that we are human beings, I think sometimes it's actually getting even harsher and more brutal with ourselves.
Yeah. I agree. I've had to unlearn being a perfectionist.
Yeah.
I've had to really lean into accepting that nobody's perfect, and I'm definitely not perfect. I make mistakes, and I always, but I learn from them, and having to unlearn being a perfectionist is tricky, but it's actually been kind of beautiful, because it's been a learning experience for my daughter and I. I can teach her, that you don't have to be perfect at everything.
No. And indeed, it is so beautiful to make mistakes. And that's, I've forever been teaching advanced life support courses of various shapes. If there was an acronym, I probably taught on it over the years. And it is so beautiful. I always made a point that is to invite people to make mistakes, because here is a safe environment where you can make mistakes and learn out of it. And if someone was then ripping into themselves with regards to criticism, oh my God, why did I forget to give that drug, etc. And I said, that's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well done. You made a mistake. Had you done it smoothly, then, this was no learning experience. But the sheer fact that you made a mistake, how beautiful is that? But I mean, it is, I think the issue of lack of debriefs and lack of acceptance of the fact that it is normal to make a mistake, that is a huge issue. When you say you had sort of the incidents that were not so nice, did you have good incidences? Did you ever attend a debrief that was really nice, where you thought, wow, this is how it should be done?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, we had a really good, I worked with a really good team of leaders and stuff like that. And they were always so super supportive. Like, I mean,
Nice.
Yeah. So there was never a feeling of like that I wasn't heard or any of that stuff. But no, I just think I was very lucky in the fact that I did have, if I felt like I needed to talk to one of my leaders, then I knew I could, and we had that relationship. So we'd built up a really strong team, but still, I don't know. I still fell down the hole somehow.
Oh, please. And it's so easy because it's so multifactorial. So
yes.
Behind me there, that's the first edition of My Steps to Sobriety. So my book that I released in about a year ago now. And I've taken the first edition off the market because we are just about releasing the second edition. So having said that, there is a big chapter in there of exactly burnout and toxic environments and what actually contributes to our feeling of burning out. And ultimately there are many different factors. There are work factors, there are people factors around you, there are factors within you. So therefore, there will be a combination of things that will play a role in your particular setting out there. So if you're listening to that because you feel, oh my God, I can't stand it anymore. Well, first of all, congratulations. This is a really good place to be, because now you're ready to take action and you're ready to confront something that has been probably grumbling for quite a long time. But now it is time to actually put the Sherlock Holmes spyglass on and actually figure out, okay, what the fuck is actually going on here? What is happening? Am I in the place where I am because of me? Because I've always given so much. I have been putting everyone else before me. Is that really the key thing?
Self-agency, I call it, or I'm a big spruiker of radical self-responsibility, and I think, but I think that's where I fell down. It was the fact that I was just so used to giving to everybody else. I didn't even know how to give to myself. So I guess that's probably at the end of the day where you can have all of these things in play, like, you know, services and all that sort of stuff. But you do have to take responsibility for your own well-being and your own agency, as I call it. It's and go, wow, like, okay, I'm in a profession that is going to cause me to probably burn out at some point. I need to have things in place to make sure that doesn't occur frequently, you know.
And that's really
irresponsible hard.
Absolutely, but that's really, really hard because we are not necessarily taught to be like that in our job. We are, when we go into our jobs, we are still young, bulletproof. You know, you become a nurse, 22, something like that. Round about there, you become a junior doctor, 25. We're all the same. We are bulletproof. We can do it. And 24 hours on, 24 hours off shifts were normal for me. Long weekends, 72 hours on-call weekends were normal for me. You just took it in your stride. That was then normal. I remember I did half a year of intensive care, and I had then a long night shift, came home and thought, I'll watch a film before going to bed. And I put Forrest Gump on. And 5 minutes into the film, I started crying. And I could not stop crying until the film was finished. Whoa. Maybe there was a bit of a sign there that I was already a bit burned out. Did I admit it to myself? No. What did I do? I had a big glass of wine. No, actually probably 2 bottles of wine and then slept. I didn't seek help. I recognized there was something wrong, and my solution to that problem was to say, no, I don't think I want to do an intensive care fellowship. I actually will stick with other aspects of anesthesia. But did I seek help? No. Did I realize what was going on? Barely. So here you go. We need to admit to it, to ourselves, that we're actually in trouble, and we are shit in that.
Yeah, I agree, because and this is the correlation that I've been making now is, we gloss over mental health in I know within nursing it's glossed over big time, because we learn about the body or the human body, but we don't really learn much about the brain and how, call it brain health, how to look after your brain, because your brain is what drives you. It's what gets you up every day. And if you don't look after it, you fall down.
You're so true. And we are good in that. I mean, if you look at the reasons for burnout, we said that there are factors within us, the overgiving, the empathy, the overstretching our own things, and by definition, the lack of looking after ourselves, putting the others first. We talked about other people or other systems, really, which leave you without influence, just being a tiny cog in a wheel, but having to get the crap constantly thrown into your face. But then there are also toxic people, the individuals who can make your life such a thing. Did you experience something along these lines?
Yeah, I think this type of industry it seems to attract toxic people. I don't know why. What is that? Don't you reckon?
Oh, no. The reality, let's get clear about that. Statistically, 1 in 10 people have got a personality disorder. Okay. And there's some nasty personality disorders, narcissistic and antisocial, etc. So that's 1 in 10. 1 in 100 is a psychopath or sociopath, people who have got no problem walking over your corpse. So that's 1 in 100. Now, if you think about the big systems in which you're working, so like a hospital which has 5,000, 10,000 employees, well, guess what? There will be some really nasty people with whom you have to work. Yeah. And that is a fact. So therefore, it is often hard, and especially if such a person is your manager or is your shift allocator, and you find yourself now in the 5th week of continuous night shifts, and you think, okay, you get the idea.
I do. Yeah.
So it is an issue. So there are many factors that contribute to us burning out, and if you have got a triple whammy of all of these things happening there, hey, welcome to mental health issues one-on-one.
100%. It's I don't know. And then it's like, if you don't, and then it's like, if you don't like it, then go somewhere else. And it's like, well, let's take it geographical, basically. It's just transferring the problem. So you've just got to learn how to manage these assholes. And and it's so like, true. Why should I manage your poor behavior? Like, why should I have to,
So true. So true. Here we go. See, I just needed to press a few little buttons there on Kristy, and suddenly, way! And you see in her eyes the frustration and I've been there. But
I have.
That is our life, unfortunately, and that is what contributes. These are the reasons for burnout. But how did it actually manifest itself? How did you recognize you were burned out?
I didn't recognize I was burnt out until I'd finally left. I went and did I'd left a tertiary hospital that I'd been working there for years and years and years, in medical environment. Loved the people there and all that sort of stuff. But, being a working mother, shift working, dealing with what we were dealing with, and I just saw things were getting worse and worse, and I knew that they weren't going to change. I remember my boss saying, well, strap in, it's only going to get worse. And I was like, fuck me. I'm like, I remember looking at the last dying person, the last person that had died, and I'd made a connection with them and their family. And I was just like, you know what? I do not want to be or get to my deathbed and go, wow, I have really hated my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather get to my deathbed and go, I've been brave to change. I've been brave to go, whatever. But the burnout, realizing that I was burnt out, didn't happen until after I left. And I was like, I took 6 months off, and I was like, okay, my husband at the time said, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. I just can't think straight, just blah. Anyway, I went back to university and studied commerce and behavioural science, and I started learning about human behaviour. And I was like, oh, my God, I was burnt out and I didn't even know it.
Exactly.
And it took me ages to accept it too, because burnout is like a mental health issue, as they would say. But if you're a health professional, it's not okay to have a mental health issue.
You consider yourself a failure. You consider yourself, because you're on that side of the fence. You are a treater. You are part of, not the nut jobs are over there. No. We are the strong. We are, yeah. And how did that go for you? The reality is we all will face mental health issues. Guys, it is normal. It's guaranteed in your life you will face a mental health issue. That could be anxiety attacks, addiction, depression, PTSD, whatever it is. It's just waiting for you. And if you actually haven't had any issues so far, then you are either about 6 years old and you shouldn't be listening to this podcast, or you're actually having a big denial going on in your life. Okay? So, no, that's the reality.
I literally on my own podcast, I say this to everybody. If somebody says that they have never struggled in life, they're full of shit. They're full of shit, because if you don't go through struggles in human life, how are you going to learn?
So true.
How are you going to learn? And sometimes you have to mentally, it doesn't even have to be a big wobble. It can just be a little wobble, but it's still a wobble.
Yeah. And it's not a pissing contest. Your big wobble, okay, it doesn't matter if I don't know, if it don't even compare even examples. Whatever trauma there was for you rattled you, and it left a mark on you. And it doesn't matter if that mark was caused by someone looking bad at you. It still made you feel awful, and you can't forget it. And you think you've got all that self-doubt and think, oh my God, it can be as little as that. Or of course it can be an awful crime that has been committed with you as the victim, or whatever it is. It is, but this is not a pissing contest. We all go through our lives in different stages, and we perceive things in a different way. And there's some people who go through the most gory scenarios and walk out more or less unscathed, and others in exactly the same scenario fall apart. And there's no right or wrong here. It is just what is happening to you. Yeah. So you're not wrong to fall apart. You're not wrong to crash and burn. You're not wrong that, but you are wrong to not accept it, to be part of your life. You're wrong to hide it. You're wrong to treat other people like shit, like your family, because you are angry and resentful and why me? And how do you dare not eat your broccoli? Arr! And I know, it's just, we can turn to really nasty pieces of shit ourselves in the process. Did you find that happening to you? Did you become resentful?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it ended up affecting my marriage in the end, and I wasn't a very nice person to be around. And my daughter, like even she copped it. And at the time, and I, as I was learning about, as what I call as within, so without, it's like obvious, like her behavior, I thought it was her. But then I started realizing, I was like, shit, it's actually me. I'm the one that's creating all of this disarray. And I remember there was this one point in time when she was having a meltdown, and I was thinking, oh my God, it's not her, it's me. Like she's just literally showing me what's going on inside of me. And then I was just like, treating my ex-husband, we're not together anymore, but that's because I was a hideous asshole to him, and in the end I was like, I am doing you a disservice and her by not dealing with my shit.
So true. So true.
And you both deserve happiness. So, and it's funny, like it's been a year now, and he's happy. He's repartnered, and it makes me happy because he's now happy, and my daughter is now happy. And it's just. And I'm obviously sad that it happened because of an environment that I chose to go into, but. Having the self-awareness being aware that what is going on inside of you internally is being externalized out into the world. Understanding that has changed my perspective on everything.
So true. For that, you need to take time out. And I love it that you said I took 6 months for myself. And of course, that's hard because there is your livelihood there. You were bringing some money in, and now suddenly your husband was saying, "What do you mean 6 months off? You're nuts."
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was like, "Well, what are you going to do?" I'm like, "I don't bloody know. We'll pare everything back. I don't care. We won't do anything. But if I don't do this, I'm going to end up," because I remembered I did an agency shift at a mental health facility in ECT, electroshock therapy. And I was watching these patients, being wheeled through, I was recovering them. And I was just looking at them and how sad they were. And I was thinking, far out. Some of these people had gone through some really, really hideous things that I would never even repeat. And I remember driving out of that particular shift and going, if I don't start dealing with whatever it is that's going on, I'm going to end up where these people are. So, yeah. That's 6 months. It was hard. It was hard to pare it back, but I had to.
I'm so pleased that you were able to. It is. My wife ended up as a lecturer in a educational institution here. She's a nurse too. She climbed up the ladder of nursing, and she became this lecturer, and very soon it turns out that the students liked her, and very soon it turns out that she couldn't say no. And so people asked more, and there's this project, and by the way, would you run that course, please? Just because I'm busy with something else. Before she blinked, she was basically running 2 jobs, got paid 20,000 less than the others, and essentially did still marking and proofreading at 2:00 in the morning. After some years of that, she finally retired from that position. And it took her about a year of lying on the couch, being burned out, being essentially unable to function to the way that she wanted to. And we were just lucky that I had at that time my shit together, and that I was able to bring the money in, and that we could afford for her to stay off. She would have been unable to really function in any environment. And that is really a severe blowout, a severe burnout. But we saw it there. And you called it initially compassion fatigue. We should explain that. We are defining ourselves by caring for others. So therefore you are empathic. You listen to their plight and you're there for them. And I see my role as an anesthetist as helping someone through a hard part of their life through a hard journey. No one wants surgery. There's often cancer involved in the surgery of a broken bone that is now putting their livelihood at stake. There's always quite a lot of story, the backstory behind it. When you burn out, you come to a point where you say, oh, stop whining, stop whinging. You think you're bad? Shall I tell you about my day?
Yeah.
Okay, that's compassion fatigue. You don't give a fuck anymore about your patient. You still will do a good job, but there is no empathy there. There is no sympathy there. There is really, whoo.
Sorry.
No, ladies first.
I literally, it's funny that you say that, because my ex-husband, he would come home from, he works for an airline, and he'd come home and he'd be like, oh, this person was being, a dickhead, or he'd get a headache. He'd get a headache and he'd complain about it. And I'd just be like, really? A fucking headache? And I just remember, and he used to say to me, you have got no heart. I'm like, I've got no heart? Do you know what I do every day? Yeah. And he wants me to come home and be his nurse. I'm like, no.
Oh, exactly. That's burnout.
I feel so bad for, I didn't realise it at the time, Oh my God.
But it is so important that we highlight that. So any nurses out there, if you just say, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, then I say, yeah, you girl, you boy, need to look after yourself. Okay. Yep. You are heading straight for it. Iceberg, Titanic. Yeah. Don't stand on the front like that, because that's where you're heading. Okay.
Yeah.
So no,
I've got a lot of sorry.
No, ladies first.
It's true. But I've got a lot of my nursing friends who are actually coming to me now, and they're like, Kristy, I don't want to work there anymore. And especially a girlfriend of mine, she's got a 1-year-old. And I'm like, I know where you're headed, girlfriend. And I'm like, if you don't, you take it from me. Start looking after yourself right now. Oh, I can't. I've just got no time. I'm like, yes, you do. You don't have time for ending up like me.
And sometimes it can be as easy as enough is enough. This is too much of a job, etc. And there might be all these factors that we have talked about. But it's also important that you realize that life has got its own thoughts about how you will continue. For example, your girlfriend, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is not just a burnout, but of course that the natural stresses from having a newborn and an infant, and of course the postnatal depression. So you have got fleas and lice. There are several things happening there. And it's so whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. You need to recognize that you're in trouble. And I think that's the key thing. I didn't recognize it for such a long time. And same here. I mean, Kristy, I see your eyes and you're ticking off. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. You're just like ticking all the boxes. It's just because, I guess, and I think for here in Australia as well, nobody talks about how to that it's okay to look after yourself, There's this thing called tall poppy syndrome. And I bloody hate it. I think it's disgusting. But anyway, you have to look after yourself. It's not taught in schools. You're selfish if you don't. If you look after yourself, you're selfish.
Which is not right. Which is wrong. Absolutely wrong. You need to look after yourself. That's why the airline says when the oxygen mask falls, put it first on yourself, and then try to rescue the little kitten in the backyard. Okay. So. Yep. And we are bad in doing that. How has your life changed now that you have gone through hard times? How do you look after yourself?
Okay. Well, I'm a massive journaler. I've got journals all around my house.
Excellent.
Meditation and exercise. I do a lot of strength training. I love it. Love strength training. Lifting heavy weights and things like that. Going out into nature. I live near I guess you could say like a nature area, and I drive out there all the time, and I just, there's a lot of research out there now to state that if you get out into nature, it is so good for your mental health because you're breathing oxygen, and it's like you're getting out of your head and you're looking at the way I see the world now is vastly different. I look at a flower and I'm like, wow, how beautiful is that flower? The old me couldn't even do that.
And the old me served a purpose. The old me was who it was. But you have, I guess, shed your skin there. You have transformed into the new me, and the new me who has found a purpose to actually speak out and to actually say, guys, is that really, all my suffering, is that for nothing? Or is it actually, if I speak out, will that not raise the awareness amongst my team, amongst my people? And that is so important. It is so bloody important. So I highly, highly commend you for being this honest and for being this outspoken, because I would say, I don't know, I don't even dare to put a number on it, how many nurses are burned out right now as we speak. We are not talking 1 or 2%, guys.
No.
Add a 0 and then times 2 times 3 would be my educated guess. So no, and there are times, guys, there are times when you have to go through hard times. I've been in rehab 7 years ago, got my shit together for the last 7 years, really developed myself and become this new person. And I love this new person. Start of this year, a number of things collided to put me back in a survival mode. And it was bizarre because I actually accepted that. And there was this literally ice cold feeling coming over me. Okay, now I need to kick ass. Now I need to do what I need to do. I cannot afford to look after myself. Right now, it's time for action. And that's what I did. And I accepted that. I accepted that right now it's survival and you can't do much about it, but you will come back to the mindfulness. You will come back to X, Y, Z. And that's what I did. So for 2 months, I went for hell and got my shit together again and dealt with the reasons that led me there. And now I'm back in the game. Now I can accept it. But so I guess what I'm saying is sometimes there are times when you cannot look after yourselves just because of the circumstances and you cannot fall apart. And that's okay. That's okay. It is what it is. Deal with it. You cannot, there are times literally which are life and death, and you need to deal with that, with whatever confrontation there is. But then thereafter is a time to actually say, oh, whoa, okay, now today, okay, I will not get dressed. I might have a shower, but go straight back in the Jimmy Jams. I will maybe have a bit of cake and then watch Netflix for the rest of the day. And guys, don't even think about talking to me. And are there days like that you do?
I was just thinking last year, like when I went through the separation, I went into like what you said, fight or flight survival mode. I went into nurse mode, right? I just was like, okay, I've got to get work. I've got to do this. I've got to provide for my daughter. And like, I don't have time to fall down right now. So I'm like going like this. And I'm like, right. And then I remember another girlfriend of mine, she sort of went through a separation as well. And so I was like frantically trying to help her. And then all of a sudden I was like, stop. You need to, as you just said, you need to stop. Don't get out of bed today. You need to go through this. Watch Netflix.
Exactly.
Do that, but and then it's like, okay, enough's enough. Get out your toolkit, make yourself a priority, and do it every day. And as you said, you do have those, and I think it's understanding that there are going to be times where you can't get your toolkit in, but recognizing it, having the self-awareness and then going, okay, I know I can't fall down right now, but there will come a time where the universe will provide me with time to slow down and not get out of bed today. And that's okay.
Absolutely. But what I liked is that you said toolkit. Toolkit implies that you take action. So you have recognized you're in trouble, but then you didn't just stay there. You didn't just do a pity party. Oh, I'm in trouble. Poor me, another one. Yeah, that is the pitfall if you're finding yourself in that. But what you actually have created is a path forward. You have recognized you're in trouble. And you didn't give up, but you actually thought, well, how can I get myself out of that? And you've developed some very positive coping mechanisms, which is beautiful to hear. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, like here, I mean, I'm going swings and roundabouts because of the 2 months or so when I was a bit focusing on other things. I didn't do many interviews. So today, this is now 6 hours straight of recording with beautiful guests. And it is absolutely gorgeous. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
But in a moment when this interview is finished, I will go out into nature. I will actually completely switch off my self-inflicted recording mode, the madness, and I loved it. I had 6 hours of therapy after all today. So, speaking to fantastic people from around the world, but it's this is all cool and creative, etc. Yet I can't continue like that. I now need to actually say, wow, how beautiful is the sunshine on my arm? How beautiful is the smell of the grass? How beautiful is the focus on one thing out there? And that's what I'm looking forward to. So this is something that I have learned I need to do. And if I don't do it, I pay the price. Okay. There are other days. 2 days ago, the whole afternoon, I was lying in bed and did bugger all. And that's okay. You need to do that. Figure out what works for you.
100%. I 100% agree. And I think for people like you and I, or type A kind of people, I guess you could say, we need to have a toolkit, because we are like, I know my limits. Like I'm an overworker. But that's just who I am. I used to have, my ex-husband used to say, slow down, and it would just give me the shits. And I'm like, but I know my limits, I know my limits, and don't tell me to slow down, because I know my limits. But, I've found also I need to find time for creating, writing, painting, drawing, I don't know, singing in the car, that's expressing myself. If I don't.
Exactly right. And it's so beautiful. So we need to put a little microphone into your car, don't we? Just do some secret recordings there. Yes,
no,
please.
My daughter, no, she's like, Mum, can you stop singing? I'm like, hell no, girlfriend.
They will always say that. They will always say that. It doesn't matter if you are the biggest singer in the world. You could be John Bon Jovi. Probably, if he has got children, his children tell him, oh, Dad, stop singing. You sound terrible. That's the reality. So we all like that. Don't listen to your children.
No, God, no. No. Even like dancing around my apartment, I'm like, like this, and with the music on, and she's like, and I'm like, I said to her one day, I actually pulled her aside and I said, I am so sorry that you had to witness the unhappy me, and you're looking at me being happy and you're seeing that as weird. And that was a big eye-opener for me. I was just like, oh, thank God I recognized, like I changed it before it was too late.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful. Did she, how old was she when you said that?
Just recently. So she's 8, she'll be 9 in September. And
beautiful.
Yeah. And I was just like, whoa.
You will be amazed. She is a bloody, she will soak it up. She will just, and you don't know it until in about 6-8 years time, when suddenly she will come out with that. Remember, Mummy, when you said, you think, what the hell did? And It is. I get these kind of things happening with me now, good and bad, by the way. Good and bad. It's beautiful because, again, you're taking action. You're actually talking. You took two actions. A, to show her that it's okay to be goofy and to have fun and to let the hair down. And you know, that's cool, number one.
Yeah.
Number two is to actually then have the insight and say, I'm sorry. And to actually talk, honest, and communicate. These are two really, really powerful things. Because what do we normally do? Just keep it all inside, put more inside, wait until I then have really too much. And then the smallest thing, let me explode.
Explode, yeah.
Sounds like the old Kristy.
Yeah, I was a bit of a monster, unfortunately. But, you know, it's at the end of the day, I said sorry to everybody that I, you know, might have blew up at or whatever. At the time, I didn't know what was going on. And but now I've got a lot of really beautiful friendships and uplifting friendships. And we all just laugh and talk have weird conversations, and I'm like, wow. They're like, I love this Kristy. She's been hiding all these, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. You know, like I just didn't know. And, you know, I think I really wish, and it's probably going to be my life's mission now, is to make sure that people choose themselves. Don't lose yourself over a job. I just saw this on LinkedIn. A gentleman who worked for HSBC, and he had a heart attack. Now I work for a cardiology company, research company, and on the post he wrote, "Do not kill yourself for a job." And I was just like, wow, this bloke, he knows what's up, right? Be kind to yourself. Look after yourself, because you're going to bed with yourself at the end of the day, and your behaviour affects your relationships, big time,
hugely.
And don't take on the strain and stress of other people's bullshit, because it's their bullshit. It's not your bill. Deal with your own self. Stay in your own lane is what I say.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And that can be incredibly hard, especially in a world where COVID has become such an bringer of uncertainty and of death and disease in many a times. It is what it is. And therefore it is even more important that we look after each other and after ourselves, should I really say it. It's even more important that you learn to ask yourself, is it the right thing for me, what I'm doing here? And hey, you guys will figure it out. And the sheer fact that you listen to this interview here to the end means that actually a lot of things were resounding with you. And that's a good place to be. It's a really good place to be. Trust me, it is. Kristy and I are the people who have invented burning the candle on both ends and a little bit in between. So, you know, it is, I don't need 17 candles on a cake. I'll just make do with one. I burn it on 17 ends. And that, unfortunately, bit us in the ass big time. So, and I guess the same is for you. So what we've done today is we hopefully demystified burnout, and we hopefully talked honestly and transparently about it. And you heard that we got our act together, but it was a transformation that was needed. And the only reason that we now appreciate the light is because we have seen the darkness. We have lived in the darkness. And sometimes you have to do that before you can get better. So if you're right now in the darkness, then again, this is a beautiful place to be, because your awakening is about to happen. Your light will start shining, and that light might be very different than who you thought you were when you were in the darkness. Suddenly we've got Kristy, the influencer although that has become a dirty word nowadays. Kristy, the woman who doesn't give up in telling the truth. Kristy, who stands on the rooftops and shout out there, guys, it's okay to not be okay. Let's look after ourselves and move on. And there's the Kristy who is speaking to her friends about mental health, and probably has reached quite a lot of people simply by being honest and transparent. And how beautiful is that? It's a freedom in there. No.
Freedom is, I speak about freedom quite a bit, and a lot of them say, you're such a different person now. I'm like, because I'm finally happy, you know, and I'm free. I'm free. And it feels so good.
Kristy, if people try to find you, how can they do that? How can they get a hold of you?
Well, I've got an Instagram page, which is from the book that I wrote, so Kristy Anne author, and I also have another Instagram page for the podcast that I do, which is called Project InBetween. And I share stories of healing like yourself on there, just about, how other professionals have also gone through similar situations. So Project InBetween on Instagram and Kristy Anne author on Instagram. And
guys, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast. All the information is there. And whilst you're looking down there, there's this little subscribe button, and it would be very rude not to. Come on, guys. So you might as well subscribe to my show and tell others about our show, because if you got something out of it, then please spread the word, because with us being dishonest and transparent, hopefully we can show you that it's not taboo to be dark or anxious or upset, etc. That this is normal, this is part of your life. This is like a wave in the ocean that, you know, if you can either like it or not like it, that the wave is coming. This wave of darkness or the wave of anxiety will come. It doesn't care what you think. So you might as well develop the toolkit, i.e. learn how to surf that wave, or work with, or swim or float on that wave, whatever tickles your right triggers there. It is important that you know this is a wave. It will come, it will go. And in a moment, it's finished. And how cool is that? So even if you go through a rough time at the moment, I assure you this will get better. So there's no need to take permanent steps to deal with temporary pain. No, there is life out there, there's hope out there. And Kristy and me, we live that life now. So please, please, please do not give up. There is hope out there. There is light out there. And it's just tiny little steps of you accepting that you're in trouble. And then knowing that there are people out there. And if burnout is an issue, then maybe have a chat with Kristy Anne. Maybe read her book. Actually go out there and learn more about it. Find people who you can talk to. Often enough, you might be amazed, if you were to be honest, you might be amazed how many nurses who are working with you actually have gone through that. And you might actually, if you open up, you suddenly realize, shit, you too? I didn't realize that. And how did you deal with that? Oh, I met this and this life coach, this and this psychologist. He really helped me. And by the way, you know, and you know what, shall we try to speak to the manager, and you don't do the next 2-4 weeks night shifts, but actually just take it a little bit easier. There's so many little steps you can do, but it starts with admitting that you're in trouble. And that's sometimes the biggest step, the biggest, hardest thing, because you might have not recognized it yet.
I agree. Personal development of self, that's the one thing that I sprue it to everybody. Learn about who you are as a person and how you work. And then,
Beautiful.
That's what
beautiful,
I think.
Beautiful. Kristy, thank you so much for being so honest there. There were some times when I thought a little tear would come out, and you were a little bit emotional at times, and that's exactly what I'm grateful for, because these are all raw emotions, and these are all raw feelings that we hate. We don't like to deal with those negative emotions. We try to bury them. We try to drink. We try to be so busy that we simply don't have to think about the negative things in our life. And that's where you fall down. The moment you actually start addressing that there are problems, you suddenly, your brain, if you ask the right questions, it will come up with the right answers. So why me? Why me? Well, it will come up with 20 answers why you. So maybe not a good question to ask,
No.
but rather, what can I do right now to feel better? Yeah. And if you ask your brain that question, it might actually come right now up with an idea of having an ice cream. Now, as long as you don't buy the 5-kilogram commercial pot and go about, then an ice cream, I think, is a bloody good idea. Actually, treat yourself, okay?
Yeah.
Those little things that can make such a big difference. And who knows where this is leading. So, Kristy, thank you very much for making me think, making me reevaluate how I take, making me realize right now, by just talking to you, realize that I actually was working on my burnout a little wee while ago. And now that I actually need to think, okay, hang on. So not just lip service, but actually put your money where my mouth is, and do what I need to do now. So what I want to do now is nature, and later maybe go for a swim, because there's the physical exercise and so on. So yeah, let's look after each other, but never, ever, ever give up. Okay, there is hope out there, guys. And that's the biggest message I want to send you. 100%. Kristy, thank you so much for coming. You out there, look after yourself. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.